I'm Tony Houston. I'm the local history librarian here at Blodgett Library, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Your Story is Fishkill Story. Today we're interviewing Sandra Verzi, a longtime employee of Blodgett Library. So Sandy, does your story begin in Fishkill?
Yes, I've kind of been a resident of the Hudson Valley most of my life. I was born in Cold Spring, and we lived in Glenham, Beacon, Wappingers, all in the Hudson Valley area, growing up many places. I always looked for the library when I moved to a new area. My mother was born on Red Schoolhouse Road in a farm, and she was great friends with the Verplank family that lived at Stony Kill Farm. She was gifted this book by Miss Matilda Verplank the year before Miss Verplank died. She inscribed it for her, and I think it inspired a love of birds to my mother, which she passed on to me. My mother was a great advocate for the little red schoolhouse, and she fought for it to be kept and was very upset when it was demolished. My dad grew up in Fishkill and was one of the first graduates of the Wappingers Junior High. My grandparents lived on Route 52, on the house where there's the signage for the George Washington sword. Their house was there, and it was unfortunately demolished when they put the ramp for I-84 in, which broke my grandmother's heart because she had the most beautiful flower gardens you would ever see that had been cultivated for years and years and years, and it broke her heart. And then they moved to Osborne Hill Road. I've lived in my home in Fishkill for over 50 years now. I've made it a little wild sanctuary. I bought some property near us where we can leave the woods wild so the animals, whatever wants to visit, can visit. People ask me a lot of times, where do you want to go on vacation? I'll say my backyard. And it's truthful because I always am amazed. And every year, even 50 years I've been there, I discover something new every time. So that's what I enjoy. I enjoy quilting. I enjoy all the handcrafts. I kind of gotten that from my grandmother, who taught me when I was young, when we lived with her for a while. So, that's kind of where I started out. So, my roots to Fishkill go deeply, and I love the town very, very much.
When did you start coming to Blodgett Library?
I lived with my grandparents when they moved to Osborne Hill Road as a teenager, and I was going to high school. So I would ride my bike down the middle of Osborne Hill Road with a basket full of books to return, and I'd come back with just as many. If I had babysitting money, I'd stop at King Cone. I would get a burger and some fries and maybe some onion rings or an ice cream, and I'd go sit behind Montfort Brothers and read and enjoy my lunch. At that time, it was very peaceful, very tree-lined. Across the creek, there was nothing but fields. It was really a very peaceful place at the time. I spent a lot of very happy hours sitting on my grandmother's porch reading books, too. The library at that time was just 2 little rooms. But I never, ever ran out of something to read. I always found something new to read. And it was kind of a lifeline for me to be able to have access to the books. And it was one of my favorite places to be. And I continued to go there till here I am.
When you mentioned the fields across from Montfort and sitting there, you probably didn't know at the time that those fields belonged to Mr. Stephen Blodgett, who was the one who gave Blodgett Library to the village of Fishkill in 1934.
Yeah, well, I'm very thankful that he did donate the library for the village, because it's been a treasure. It's one of the cornerstones of the library, of the village, I believe. The library has really always been a good place to be for people in the village.
So as an adult, you came to the new Blodgett Library, where we are now?
Yes, so I had my children, and I brought them here to the new library, and of course got stuff for myself too. And it was much larger. It still had the same services, the same books. It was still a wonderful library with the same feeling that they had before. I volunteered as much as I could. Having a young family, I did a lot of other community stuff. So I did volunteer when I could, when they needed help. And when they did build the new addition on, I came and helped them move the collection. I had a Cub Scout troop at that time, and I brought them over, and we had a relay going up the stairs passing books, and it was a great fun time. I had worked some part-time jobs in offices, and they just weren't very satisfying. They weren't filling my soul, so to speak. And one day I came in, and Doris Free asked me if I would like to work there, and I didn't hesitate for not even a second. I said yes.
And Doris Free was the librarian at the time?
Yes, she was.
She was the one who hired me, too.
Yeah. Yeah, she still comes in the library to check out books. When I first was coming in as a patron years ago, I was chatting with her one day. My father recited this poem all the time. I don't know if it was actually a poem or a speech that he had learned, and he knew it by heart. He could recite the entire thing. but he was living in Florida at the time, was older. He didn't remember where he learned it from. So I had mentioned it to Doris, and she said, well, give me a few lines from that, and I'll find it for you. Well, I was totally amazed when she came up with the whole speech. It was actually a speech that was in a textbook from the seminary when my father attended seminary after he had been in high school. I was amazed, I was thrilled, my father was thrilled, and I think I have the love for finding and researching things for people because I remember that feeling that I got when I got that in my hand. That's something that we were searching for. So I really like to share that. So that's kind of like, I love that part of my job the best, I would say, of all the things that I do.
So how did interlibrary loan work originally?
Well, originally I was hired as technical services and doing interlibrary loan, and every single book in the Mid-Hudson system was on microfiche, very tiny microfiche. And you had to search for the book, write down the libraries that had it, and you had to fill out a form in triplicate to send one to Mid-Hudson, one stayed with us as a file, and one went on to the library that we were requesting it from. And if that library didn't have it, they would send on that form to the next library that did have it. So it took quite a while to get a request when you requested a book, not like now where you can get it very quickly and know if a library actually has it checked in. We couldn't tell if it was checked in or not. That wasn't available. Every time we bought a new book or anybody in the system purchased a new book, it had a card went to Mid-Hudson, and they had to enter it to the microfiche. And the same happened when we discarded it. When we pulled them out of the card catalog, we had to send a copy to Mid-Hudson so they could take it off the microfiche. So as you can expect, the microfiche was constantly updated.
So while you were doing interlibrary loan here, I worked on the other end at Adrian's library at that point, and I'd get the little slips of paper, and I'd go from Mid-Hudson through the connecting hallway over to Adrian's library with the slips of paper, and then take the stacks of books back over to Mid-Hudson and photocopy the pages, and then take the books back to Adrian's, attach the pages I'd copied to the slips, and send them back out to the libraries. Of course, this was before Google. And that's how people would have to wait for their answers to their reference questions.
It was a lot more work than it is now, and a lot harder to find things. I had forgotten to mention also, we had an entire room here on the first floor that was dedicated to nothing but periodicals. We had periodical indexes. If you wanted a magazine article, you had to go to the periodical index. You had to look up what you were looking for. You could do it by subject or article, author, whatever. And then you had to find that magazine, and you had to find the article. And then you could copy it or check it out or whatever you wanted if you were researching. If we didn't have it, you could also fill out a form and request that another library who had that article would copy it and send it to you. So that's how people researched periodicals back then, which was also time-consuming and took up an entire room where we have the large print now.
So how does interlibrary loan work now?
It's much quicker. You can get a book much quicker in your hands to read. We can request any book that's checked in from any library in the Mid-Hudson system, and you'd have it probably in a few days if there's not a long hold list. If a book is not in the Mid-Hudson system, I can do a further search. I can use SEAL, and I can use the Mid-Hudson to locate books in other states, college libraries. A lot of people with research do this.
So do patrons tell you they still miss the card catalog?
Yes, unfortunately they do. The card catalog was a great resource to finding books when we didn't have the online catalog. It was a lot of work maintaining it because each book had to have multiple cards typed up. You had to have the title, the subject headings, the author, and they were typed up by Flossie, and she would give them to me to proofread, and she dubbed me Sherlock because I always found her little errors and she had to retype them. And then we would file them. When a book was discarded, you had to take out all the cards. You had to be careful and make sure you took out all the cards pertaining to that book. Then you had to send them to Mid-Hudson so they could remove them from the microfiche. So now with the online catalog, you just go online, you can reserve books yourself. You know if a book's checked in, you know which library has it. If you want to go there, you can get it yourself. So it's much more efficient in getting what you need, even though the card catalog was lovely and it was a really nice piece of furniture.
So how else has the library changed? Certainly not just books anymore.
It certainly isn't. The library really offers something for everyone. If you're a grandparent or a parent, you can bring your kids to our story time. We have a lovely children's room downstairs, which is its own separate room, so no one will shush you. You can enjoy yourself and the kids can enjoy themselves. We also have online resources for kids, which is Creative Bug. We have Tumble Books, and there's a lot of other online resources that you can use also for your children. You can make new friends at the library. We have some groups that meet. We have a meditation group, a book club.
And of course, we have the knitting club.
Yes, we do. We also have a coffee connection where you can come and meet other people and have coffee and cookies and share, stories and get to know other people. We also have all these things in a brochure that we will have at the desk. You can also check our online calendar for dates and times, and everyone's welcome to come.
And don't forget the computers.
Yes, we have a lot of computers available for use for free. You can print out any paperwork or anything that you need. You can also explore a lot of our databases that we have that are available. We have Mango, which you can learn a language. We have Universal Class, which you can actually take credit courses on. During the shutdown, I took a course in watercolor, and I found it a lot of fun, but they have hundreds of courses available for free. You can do that. You can also use Libby to read books, and Libby is also Overdrive. You can use our Hoopla service, which you can also download audio and readable books, and that's all free through the library.
But it all comes back to services for the patrons, right?
Yes, it does. At one time, we really expanded our large print collection because at that time when the old Post Mall was built, a lot of the seniors located to those apartments because everything was within walking distance. At that time, we had the Mid-Hudson Medical Group, so they had their doctors. We had churches all around. We had the drugstore. We had a Grand Union where they could shop. And of course, we had the library, which they all visited, and a lot of them volunteered. And so everything was really within walking distance, and a lot of them were requesting a large print books, which we were getting for them. So we, at that time, to service this community, this certain community, we started expanding our large print. We have a very large, wonderful large print collection at this time that takes up 2 rows.
So Sandy, you've been an employee here for many years. What keeps you coming back to work?
Actually, it's as the technology changes, the heart of Blodgett Library has remained the same. It's about the people that work here and also the books. And I've been blessed to work with so many caring, loving people as staff. I've gotten to know many patrons who I've become friends with. And it's been a very valuable experience through the years. One of the things I really treasure is having the pages come in as young adults and seeing them mature and grow, such as Nicholas Roth. And many, many others have marched through these doors and gone on to live wonderful, successful lives. They're great people, and it's so inspiring for me to know that the world is going to be populated by these young adults. So there's a lot of good out there, and we've gotten the best of the best. And I thank them all for having patience with me and teaching me how to use my phone and the computer. We've had a great staff of pages over the years, and it's been a blessing to know all of them. I want to thank Doris Free for seeing the library person in me and giving me the opportunity to serve the public in this manner, and something that I loved and got so much satisfaction over the years. I want to thank Eileen Scatino, who was one of my first coworkers, who I still try to emulate of how she reacted and did her job. She was one of the best people I know. I also want to thank Susan Blackshear, who was director after Doris Free had left, and Julie Spahn, who is now my current boss and director, for giving me the opportunity to grow over the years and to experiment and learn new things and to trust me with the job that I am doing. It's really been the best 35 years, and I've enjoyed almost everything I've done here.
Well, thank you, Sandy, for coming today. It's been really interesting to hear about your experiences with Blodgett Library, both as a patron and as a staff member.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure to be here. I hope all our patrons stay well and healthy and start coming in and visiting us again as we start getting back to some normal life again in the Hudson Valley. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody and getting our programs running again.
So this is the end of season 1 of Your Story is Fishkill's Story. We've done 10 episodes so far, and it's been great fun doing them. I hope everyone has enjoyed watching them. Tune in to see when season 2 starts. You can find that out on our website. But meanwhile, this is the end of season 1.